Hello and welcome to The Garbage Gamer. I am your host Erebus, and today I will be reviewing this Bracket 4 deck by Necropedal called Compleat Sin. It is a commander deck with Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. Before we jump straight into it, I do have a small primer that Necropedal has sent me. So he says, the aim of this deck is to generate board presence through high creature count and use those creatures as sacrifice fodder to limit and control what my opponents can do. Counter manipulation and reanimation are sub-themes which play into this pseudo-control engine. I didn't expect the deck to be so enchantment heavy, but they all pull their weight and provide just enough obstacles to force my opponents to play differently enough as to be problematic. Before we get started with the full deck review, Yawgmoth Thran Physician is a 4-cost 2/4. It has protection from humans, and you can pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and draw a card. So it is removal and a draw spell in the command zone, which is inherently strong to begin with. You can also pay black, discard a card, and proliferate, which I can already see over here. We have Skithrix, the Blight Dragon, so immediately we do have a win con. So let's jump straight into it then. We have straight up Blowfly Infestation. If a creature dies with a -1/-1 counter on it, you put it on another creature. Soul Snuffers, which is a 3/3 Elemental Shaman, ETB, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature. That does affect your own creatures, including Soul Snuffers. So you do have to be careful if anyone else is running Proliferate. And Spitting Dilophosaurus, which puts a -1/-1 counter on a target creature, and creatures your opponent control with -1/-1 counters on them can't block. So it does allow you to sneak through some damage, especially if you're swinging with Skithrix. We then have Grief, which looks like this card was pulled and just added to the mono black deck without much thought as to what its purpose in the deck would be. We then have Bastion of Remembrance and Grey Merchant of Asphodel. So immediately, if these are your only drain cards, Necropedal, I would definitely recommend Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, Falconwrath Noble, Vindictive Vampire. All of those do the same thing as Bastion of Remembrance, and when you're sacrificing creatures, you do get the drain, which means that you are winning the game effectively. Grey Merchant of Asphodel is definitely a I'm about to lose, I need life. Especially in a mono black deck, it is good because you do gain the life that was lost, which will help with paying 1 life. And Bastion of Remembrance and those other cards, Zulaport Cutthroat, Falconwrath Noble, Vindictive Vampire, Blood Artist, they will all keep you alive while you're paying the 1 life. As far as draw spells go, we have Ayara, Braids Arisen Nightmare, Disciple of Bolus, Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor, Grim Haruspex, which only cares about non-token creatures you control dying, Indulgent Tormentor, which only gets you 1 card at the beginning of your upkeep, and most players, I imagine, would pay the 3 life because it's less than 10% of your life total in a commander game. Loth Spider Queen, which does allow you to draw a card, but you can also make 2 tokens, which can be then used with Yawgmoth's ability to draw 2 cards. Nashi Moonsage's Scion. Now, this card doesn't really draw cards. It's combat damage to exile the top card of everyone's library, and you can play one of those cards. You can pay life to cast any of those cards as well. So this is great if you're running a theft deck, which the new Gonti does a great job of, Gonti Night Minister. So if you want more of those effects, then I would recommend Gonti Night Minister. Or there's Rev Tithe Extractor. Rev Tithe Extractor will also do that really well and generate treasures for you when you attempt to steal those cards from your opponents. Necropotence is a combo card. We have Night's Whisper, which is very fair. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life for 2 mana. Very suitable for a mono black player. For Exian Arena, again, it's just a free card draw, extra card at the beginning of your turn. So as long as that sticks around, you get an extra card. And Tenacious Underdog, which you draw a card every time it dies and can be cast from your graveyard using its Blitz ability. So 4 mana and 2 life, then you pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. So you're effectively paying 3 life to draw 2 cards and put a -1/-1 counter on something. We then have the Game Ender, Torment of Hellfire. great card. I like this. If you're going to go big with Torment of Hellfire, then just go big. We have Skithrix the Black Dragon. This is also with the Proliferate. That's a game ender. If you are able to get even one infect hit in with Skithrix, then your opponents are on a clock. Obnixilis the Fallen. Now this is just a 3/3 on turn 5, maybe turn 4. I am seeing the fetch lands here, Polluted Delta, Bloodstained Mire, Marsh Flats. If you were really wanting that to go off, then I would suggest Fabled Passage and Prismatic Vista, both the extra fetch lands that fetch basics. But I feel like this is not really a card that needs to be in the deck. You're not cheating lands out, you're dealing 3 damage to an opponent, and you're probably maybe hitting for 6. If you're lucky and you draw or top deck a fetch land, then you might hit for 9 on turn 5 or 6, which is a lot of damage, but it does make you a big target. Sheoldred the Apocalypse. This card is, well, it's a fantastic card in general, but this is great with Yawgmoth. You're sacrificing other creatures, drawing a card, and you gain 1 life back from this ability. So that is really good. No Mercy and Koskun Falls. You just don't want to get hit, which at bracket 4, I feel like No Mercy is fine. Koskun Falls kind of will slow opponents down, but it won't stop them. Especially if there is a Voltron player, they're just going to pay the 2 and swing at you and go for game. We then have Astral Cornucopia. This is really good with the Proliferate ability. Black Market, creatures are going to die because you're sacrificing them, so this seems really good in the deck. Caged Sun at 6 mana, even in a monocolored deck, feels really slow in this day and age. I feel like there's better options for ramp. Charcoal Diamond, low cost ramp. Cryptghast does Caged Sun's job. It doesn't buff your creatures, but it does give you extra mana for your swamps. Extraplanar Lens, you've got the snow-covered swamps, so Extraplanar Lens will work very well, giving you the bonus mana while preventing your opponents from capitalizing on it. But you do have to be careful that there's no removal as soon as this hits the board, because you will be down on land, and in mono black, it will be tough to recover. Jet Medallion is perfectly fine. Liliana of the Dark Realms does search for a swamp card, which will be Witch's Cottage, Snow-Covered Swamp, or Leech-Ridden Swamp, which, again, I don't think Leech-Ridden Swamp is necessary. Each opponent loses 1 life. A turn cycle, there's better options. You'd be better off just running a basic, just a Snow-Covered Swamp. Pitiless Plunderer, you're going to get a lot of treasure tokens from that. Plaguemere, again, a -1/-1 infect. If you can sneak that through on one opponent, especially if you can get it out early with Soul Ring, turn 1 Plaguemere before anyone can get a blocker up, then they are on a clock. Pristine Talisman, you are in mono black. I would say that this is gaining 1 life is fine. I would say that adding mana of any color, or even just adding black for 3 mana, is more important with how much black you run. So something like Decanter of Endless Water, that will give you black mana and you have no maximum hand size. Reliquary Tower for a similar effect. We then have Soul Ring, of course. Soul Ring goes in every deck. And Throne of Eldraine. So you cast that for 5, add 4 black mana, or spend 3 black mana to draw 2 cards. We have Recursion, so Agadeem's Awakening, and MDFC, so I imagine based on the 34 or 35 with MDFC, this would mostly be played as a land. We then have Animate Dead, classic recursion spell, Beacon of Unrest. You better have a big target in the graveyard when you use this. Liliana Heretical Healer to flip into Liliana Defiant Necromancer. Each player discards a card. That does hurt you as well. Return target non-legendary creature card with CMC X from your graveyard to the battlefield, or -8, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So that is really good. Again, with the Proliferate, if you have enough cards in hand and enough mana, that would be 5 cards to get it from 3 to 8, plus 10 mana. If you're activating that for 10 mana and 5 cards, you're probably doing something else to win the game. We then have Mikaeus the Unhallowed, and Triskelion is right here. So this is lesser control deck and more of a combo deck that you are pretending to control until you can combo out. Necroskidder and has Wither. You steal creatures, that's fine. Oversold Cemetery, just return creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Puppeteer Clique can give you 4 activations of Yawgmoth. Play that, steal a creature card from a graveyard, sack the creature, sack Puppeteer Clique. Puppeteer Clique comes back. And if you've got Mikaeus out, Puppeteer Clique then has Undying and Persist, so that's an infinite combo as well. We have Reanimate, again, the standard recursion spell, and Yawgmoth's Will, just a game ender. You can easily cast Yawgmoth's Will into Torment of Hailfire with enough mana. Removal, 12 bits of removal is fine. Blood on the Snow, Cavalier of Night, 5 mana to sacrifice a creature for the option to destroy target creature an opponent controls, and then when it dies, return target card. So this is fine if you are willing to sacrifice itself. Otherwise, we have 3 token generators, and that feels like not enough. And most of the time, you would just rather be sacrificing something to Yawgmoth to get the card, unless it's a really big creature that you can't whittle down with -1/-1 counters. We have Come Back Wrong, destroy target creature, returns it to the battlefield under your control, and you sacrifice it beginning of the next end step, or sacrifice it to Yawgmoth to draw a card. Crumbling Ashes, destroy target creature with a -1/-1 counter on it. Definitely a better option of removal, but very slow. So you do really need to be careful. Damnation, perfectly fine, just a board wipe. Dictate of Erebos, yeah, that's going to keep the board clear, but you are basically hoping to draw one of just this. You don't have any other effects, any other similar effects to Dictate of Erebos. You do have the tutors, but one of them sends to grave. One of them just adds it to your hand because Dictate of Erebos costs 5. So you've got 1 tutor to grab Dictate of Erebos. So 1 in 99 or 2 in 99, if that's your target, seems like not the best. Font of Agonies, 1 cost. You can just destroy target creature for 2 mana. After paying 4 life, I imagine you're going to be paying a lot of life for Yawgmoth's ability. Go for the Throat. This is old. There's better options these days, especially destroy target non-artifact creature. If your opponents are playing artifact creatures, this is a dead card in hand. Phyrexian Obliterator, that is most likely going to sit under protection rather than removal. It's going to sit with No Mercy and Goskin Falls. It's not going to do much attacking, and will probably just get caught up in a board wipe. Plaguecrafter most frequently will sacrifice himself. Triskelion combos with Mikaeus and Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. Put up to 1 target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker and exile it. So it's recursion, it's a kill spell, it's kind of both. At 5 mana, it's a lot, and you have to have a legendary creature out. So there is a lot of options of legendary creatures in this deck. I would say there's better options for removal and recursion. I guess trying to do both is fine. We then have Bitter Blossom, which is, again, lose 1 life, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying at the beginning of your upkeep only. So you get 1 creature per turn cycle that you can sacrifice to Yawgmoth, and you're paying a lot of life. So there's a lot of things that you are paying life for, which is what Black wants to do, but you don't have too much life gain other than Sheoldred, Gary, and Disciple of Bolus, or a Torment of Hailfire to try and get everyone else low. So there's not much life gain to really pay for the life that you're paying to get all these effects. We have Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia, if you control no creatures. Again, it's at the beginning of your end step if you have no creatures with Decayed. So once per turn cycle, you're getting 1 creature. Sengir Autocrat, love this card. Enters with 3 tokens immediately. That is instantly for 4 mana and 4 life, you're drawing 4 cards. And putting 4/1/1 counters on something. So that is instantly my favorite card in the deck. We then have Beseech the Mirror, search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If it was bargained, cast it without paying its mana cost if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, you put it into your hand. It's a 4 mana. You may as well run Diabolic Tutor unless you want to cheat something out, which, I mean, I'd be going for Sengir Autocrat. But again, you have to sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, token. If you're sacrificing an artifact creature or a token creature, you can't sacrifice a creature with bargain. So your best option is that you're competing for the cost of Yawgmoth to get something that costs the same as Yawgmoth out, but there's not a lot of enchantments that you would want to sacrifice, or not a lot of token generators, and not a lot of artifacts that you want to sacrifice, unless you sacrifice something like Plaguemere. Again, Demonic Tutor, that's your one game changer in the deck from what I can see. So, and then Entomb, just search a creature. So first thoughts before we do the playtest is Bastion of Remembrance. We want more of this effect. Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, Vindictive Vampire, Falconwrath Noble. Those 4 cards immediately will elevate the deck. Pristine Talisman can become Decanter of Endless Water, because you need that. If you're drawing a lot of cards, you don't want to be discarding. If you are discarding, then you are either focusing on a recursion package, which you have some recursion, but not quite enough. Necroskidder only recurs opponent's creatures. Oversold Cemetery just brings them back to hand once at the beginning of your upkeep. Puppeteer Clique can, again, opponent stuff from graveyards. Beacon of Unrest is 5 mana, and you don't really have anything higher than that. You've got Obnixilis at 5. What's the curve on this? You have 4 6-cost spells. Cage Sun, Mikaeus, Triskelion, Blood on the Snow. So really, to get the value of Beacon of Unrest, you're saving 1 mana on Mikaeus or Triskelion or Cage Sun, which again, Cage Sun could just be another low-cost ramp spell. Like, you've got Plaguemere in here. Why not Leadenmere? I think that's the black one. So Leadenmere is the black mare. It adds black. That gives you more. And again, you've got a lot of black pips. The last thing you want to do is turn 1 land Sol Ring, turn 2 land Pristine Talisman with 1 land Sol Ring, and then you've got 1 black. You need to be opening with 3 lands, which at 34, I'd probably boost that by 2, go up to 36, 37. What else? More token generators as well. Sengir Autocrat and similar effects. So let's do the playtest and see how it goes. So, okay, so we're starting with, you know what? I'm keeping this. So we start turn 1, play a Snow-Covered Swamp. Turn 2, play another Snow-Covered Swamp and play Jet Medallion. Turn 3, Snow-Covered Swamp, 1, 2, 3, we cast our Commander. So it's turn 3, we have our Commander out, which is really nice, but nothing that we can really do with him. Next turn, we play a Swamp, 1, 2, 3, 4, Obnixilis. So we have an Obnixilis the Fallen. On turn 4, we play Crypt of Agadeem, because it does tap for black. We can play the Pristine Talisman. It's now turn 5. We have the Infinite Combo in hand. Someone's getting out of control. We're going to play a land. We need to add 6 counters because we play 2 lands, and we swing for 9 at someone without flying, without any sort of evasion. So unless someone is completely open on turn 6, which is very unlikely, Obnixilis the Fallen is just a dead card. So if they declare blockers and it's something that will either kill Obnixilis or doesn't die to Obnixilis, then we can sack it in response to draw a card and put a -1/-1 counter on something. But opponents have gotten out of control because it's turn 6, so we'll pay 1, 2, 3, 4, and we will board wipe. Our commander goes back to command zone. Next turn, we play Khan's Bastion so that we can proliferate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Commander's back out. And again, there's nothing that we can do with him. We're just sitting here and doing nothing. So we'll pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Astral Cornucopia with 2 counters on it. So it has 2 counters and taps for 2 black mana. It's now turn 7. We can reanimate Obnixilis, play a land for turn, it enters tapped. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so next turn we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cast Triskelion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cast Machias, and we win. And it's turn 10. So unless someone has removal. So let's go new game. No lands, so we'll mulligan. There we go. We'll keep this. So turn 1, we'll play a Marsh Flats and grab a basic swamp, and then we shuffle library. Turn 2, we play a swamp, and we'll cast Night's Whisper to draw 2 cards. And then we'll discard Nashi because Nashi doesn't do anything for us here. Next turn, we can play 1, 2, 3, 4 Necroskitter. Turn 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Play this to prevent people from attacking us. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have our commander out. Turn 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have Skithrix without haste. So we're just going to sit here for a turn and play Castle Lochthwain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play Grey Merchant of Asphodel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So everyone loses 12 life. We gain 36 life, which is a pretty good deal. But again, we're not really seeing anything to do the control element that you mentioned. So turn 7, we've got a decent board, but I imagine our opponents are doing a bit better because we're not doing anything. We're going to go new game again. So we'll keep this because there's enough lands. So we'll turn 1, draw for turn. There we go. Turn 2, play this. Oh, turn 3, pay 3. This gets a counter. Turn 4, we play Khan's Bastion. 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn 5, we play land. 1, 2, Jet Medallion. 1, 2, Necroskitter. So we have our first sacrifice outlet, which is Necroskitter, who is a recursion piece. Okay, here we go. So we can entomb. I don't even know who we would want. You know what? Where is he? Where is Sengir Autocrat? Because we want Sengir Autocrat in the bin. Move to Graveyard. We're then going to pay 2 to Demonic Tutor, and we're going to grab a reanimation spell, which is just going to be reanimate. And then we'll pay 1 and we'll cast reanimate. And finally, after using 3 cards to make this happen, we have Sengir Autocrat on the battlefield with 3 tokens, 3 surf tokens. And now we sack this, we draw a card, sack this, draw a card, sack this, draw a card. 3 things just got -1/-1 counters on them. So it took 3 cards to get Sengir Autocrat out before we started to get rolling. So we definitely need more token generators. What are the good mono black token generators? Let's jump into the advanced search. So black text is token, format is commander. So let's have a look. So none of these are looking good. We just got to find something that will bring in more tokens for you. So Black Market Connections is an incredible card. You get a treasure token and you draw a card and you get something to sacrifice, but it does cost a lot of life. Wait a minute. Wait, if we go back to your deck, there is no Nest of Scarabs. Necropedal. What are you doing? This is the perfect card for your deck. Whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, you make that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. That gives you fodder so that you can keep the control ball rolling. So Nest of Scarabs just immediately should be in the deck, and I don't understand why it's not. What else have we got? Surely there's other mono black tokens that aren't just as slow as Bitter Blossom. We want something that is actually decent. So Curse of Disturbance, that one could be good. If there is someone that you know is a threat, you can put that on someone for 3 mana. Every time they get attacked, you get a zombie, someone else gets a zombie. If you do it right, you can get 3 tokens each turn cycle. Curse of the Restless Dead. Now that is great if you know that there is a landfall deck in play. If someone is going to be playing a lot of lands, or if there's just a green deck, mono green deck, if they want to ramp, they're going to give you sacrifice fodder for Yawgmoth. And that gives you cards. Instantly, you want Reliquary Tower in the deck as well, and probably Thought Vessel, because you're going to be drawing a lot of cards. Undying as well. Undying plus Nest of Scarabs plus Yawgmoth. You're going to be paying a lot of life, which is where Bastion of Remembrance, Blood Artist, Falcon Wrath Noble, all of those cards, Zulaport Cutthroat, they will keep you alive and allow you to keep doing things. If you're going to play at Commander Bracket 4, commit to it. You're sitting here, you've got a Commander Bracket 4 optimized deck with 2-card infinite combos, Mikaeus and Triskelion, Mikaeus and Puppeteer Clique, Mikaeus and realistically any other creature, because as long as Mikaeus and Sengir Autocrat, if you put a -1/-1 counter on Sengir Autocrat from the tokens that he brings in, then you are going to be constantly just churning through. And yes, that may be an infinite combo, but commit to it. Endrick Sar, Master Breeder, whenever you cast a creature spell, you don't have anything that costs more than 6. I would say an unconditional threat, something like Valgavoth, the mono black Valgavoth. That card is this one, Valgavoth Terra Eater. If you tap out and you spend 9 mana to cast this card, I would say that's a good turn. You have Flying Lifelink. If your opponents try to target it with removal, they lose 3 non-land permanents, and you're stealing anything that dies if it gets caught up in a board wipe as well. So you can just steal things. An incredible card. Let's go back to the token generators. Endrick Sar is a great option. What else have we got? Flare of Malice is great removal. Again, if you don't mind sacrificing a non-token black creature, which I would say Grim Haruspex should come out. As good as it is, you're better off running tokens to keep the ball rolling. And you're going to be drawing plenty of cards from your commander anyway. What else have we got? Ophiomancer is another great card that we could use. So if we go down to O, which we cannot find apparently. Here we go. Mere Battlesphere. When it enters, create 4/1/1 colorless Mere artifact creature tokens. You can sacrifice those tokens, draw 4 cards, sacrifice Mere Battlesphere, bring it back. Or, again, with Mikaeus, sacrifice a token, put a -1/-1 counter on Mere Battlesphere, sacrifice the Mere Battlesphere. To draw a card, bring it back because it had a -1/-1 counter on it with Mikaeus out. You just keep doing that. And again, infinite combo. You're just going to keep churning through. I don't want this to be a control deck. I think Grief is terrible. I think Obnixilis has no evasion. You can do better things. Ophiomancer gives you each upkeep, you get a snake. And the snake has Death Touch, which you can just sacrifice the snake in your opponent's end step, draw a card, put a -1/-1 counter on something. Your next opponent's turn, you get a snake with Death Touch. If they try and board wipe, then you just go, well, I'm going to draw a card. Things like Tenacious Underdog is great because you can keep recasting it, but why keep recasting it when you can just get things for free with Yawgmoth and tokens? Phyrexian Triniform, great card. You can sacrifice it, create 3 more tokens, and again, if you put a -1/-1 counter on it with Mikaeus out, you're getting the tokens when it dies and bringing it back. Pitiless Plunderer, you've already got that in the deck, which is great. What's the other Phyrexian Triniform? And Phyrexian Triniform is also a flavor win as well. Rev Tithe Extractor, I've already mentioned. I would say, unless you're really focusing on the theft aspect of it though, the Rev Tithe Extractor is not great. Ruthless Technomancer, if you want treasure tokens, it can be used as recursion as well. But I would say that your best option is, at the moment, your best card in the deck is definitely Sengir Autocrat because it brings tokens with it. So things that bring tokens with it, or things that generate tokens more than just once a turn. A Bitter Blossom is a worse Ophiomancer. Ophiomancer at least gives you one every turn, including your opponent's turns. Skeletal Vampire, ETB, create 2 1/1 black creature tokens with flying. And you can make more bats for 5 mana. So, again, enters with tokens, you can just keep cycling through with Mikaeus. Mikaeus seems to be a backbone of your deck as far as combos go. So, again, you're playing at bracket 4. You've got cards in here that make sense for a bracket 3 deck. You've only got the one game changer. So let's have a look at the game changers that you can run. So if we open up the game changers, here we go. So we have the game changers here. You've only got the one game changer. So let's have a look at the game changers that you can run. Put this here. So Bolas's Citadel, great card. Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor. You've got tutors in the deck. Commit to more. Ancient Tomb. The rest of them don't seem that great for your deck, if I'm honest. But Ancient Tomb, definitely turn 2, 3, turn 3 Yawgmoth with Ancient Tomb. I would definitely consider that at the very least. Bolas's Citadel, if you have, again, more than just Bastion of Remembrance as your drain ability, Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist, all of those, if you add those in, then you are going to be doing a lot of things. Like, you've got all these draw spells, but the only draw spell that I wanted to cast was Yawgmoth. He was the only one I was interested in casting during the playtest. You're going to draw cards from Yawgmoth. You don't need this many draw spells. I would say cut a Yara because, again, sacrifice another black creature to draw a card. I'd rather just put a -1/-1 counter. The life that you are paying for Yawgmoth is inconsequential, especially if you get multiple of these Bastion effects out. Braids, again, sacrifice in order to deal a little bit of damage and draw a card for each player seems fine, but I would say that unless you are powering this out early, or have better recursion, better creatures that recur themselves. Like, you've got all these recursion spells, but you have nothing that recurs itself. So Endless Cockroaches is a great example. You have to keep casting it, but Endless Cockroach, I've misspelled that. Endless Cockroaches. When it dies, return it to its owner's hand. It's 3 mana for a 1/1. You can keep just keep on casting that and sacrificing it to draw a card and kill something of your opponents. Kill the small creatures that your opponents have. What else is there? Similar to Endless Cockroaches is Reassembling Skeleton. Again, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. 2 mana, get a 1/1 that you sack to draw a card for 1 life. Bring it back, keep doing that. Just on repeat. You control the board. If you want to control your opponents, then actually control them. Don't just sit around for 4 turns going, I get to turn 4 and cast Yawgmoth, but I've done nothing else. So, those are my thoughts on your deck, Necropedal. Thank you for sending it through. As I said, more of this, less of these that do nothing for the deck. Bit more ramp, maybe lower cost ramp, and maybe Valgavoth as a top end, and a bit more commitment to the combos. Reassembling Skeleton, Nether Traitor, there's Dread Wanderer, Bloodghast. Every time you play a land, you bring it back. You've got the fetch lands in there. Like, Obnixilis doesn't do great because he's a 3/3 that deals a little bit of damage. He'll get caught up in a board wipe. Bloodghast, that's recursion that you want. So, Bloodghast, Reassembling Skeleton, Nether Traitor, 3 mono black, and I would say almost integral self-recurring creatures, Endless Cockroaches as well, 4 self-recurring creatures, lower cost ramp, Valgavoth, more token generators, and more drain abilities. I want this deck to consistently have tokens that it can spit out on turn 3 or 4, or something that can recur itself on turn 3 or 4, so that when you do play Yawgmoth, you're going to be able to do something with him. because at the moment I was getting Yawgmoth out and there was nothing I could do, and I don't want to sit there for 6 turns or 7 turns just going, maybe I will do something once I have another creature that I can use. But again, Sengir Autocrat was a powerhouse, so Ophiomancer, Endrixar, Master Breeder, those kinds of effects to get more tokens. Thank you very much for sending it through though. It was a lot of fun to review. I've been your host, Erebus, and this is The Garbage Gamer. Enjoy the rest of your day.